your win conditions. This is something that I rehearse with everyone at the start of a game. You need to be thinking about what your team wants to do and can do, and what their team wants to do and can do. So, looking at your team, you have a lot of wave clear, and this is also pretty good pick potential with Anivia. You have a great amount of poke between the Ezreal and the Zyra, and you have some split push and team fight potential with the Warwick coming in to engage something or the Shen on the side. So you have split push, poke, and wave clear. This is a very well-rounded comp, but it's limited to being in lanes. So you are going to have a weakness around the jungle and any pick potential and towards the sides of fights and stuff like that because you want to stay in the lanes with this comp. With their comp, they have a lot of forced engage and also poke. Their forced engage is from, of course, the Pantheon dropping and a Twitch showing up on the side. Their wave clear and poke is very comparable to yours, so you're going to have a hard time sieging normally. This means your team is going to have to rely on the early, rotating between lanes where you're able to get away from their wave clear and poke because neither team is going to have a very good time with that, and both teams can engage very well, and trying to control the flank routes to where Twitch could get in on the side of fights. If Twitch is in the lane and he's standing back here and you're just sieging, okay, that's fine. But that doesn't normally happen. Normally he's stealthed, and by the time he shows up to a fight, you've already blown your crowd control, and then all of a sudden you've lost the fight. So, in essence, your control this game needs, since you're not very good at, well, your team comp isn't very good at playing towards the jungle, you're going to have to bait and control the waves a lot better. So that way you can rotate to a different turret without taking a fight. Because you don't really want the fight in the jungle unless you have complete vision control because they have so much that can engage on you in the jungle. And even though Anivia plays really well into the jungle, most of these champions are much better at sieging. You just need to look for an opportunity to siege away from the Xerath. So setting up those minion waves to where you can rotate away from the Xerath are very important. That just tells you what you're going to be trying to do throughout the early and mid game, and then even late game, how you're going to close out a game. You need to worry about your rotations, and you get those through minion wave management. If you're trying to worry about minion wave management as a jungler, the best thing you can do is get your bot lane to the point that they no longer have to lane. So trying to get bot turret early is something that I would be focusing on. That would also open up all of this, so that way if their bot lane overextends, which happens sometimes, you could flank them, get another kill, and you would still be pressured, or rather, on the other side of the map, away from the Xerath, so he's not going to be wave clearing that. And both the top laners can show up at any point in time. So I would be definitely playing towards bot side as Warwick this game. And all of this planning happens during queue and during champion select. You need to be recognizing everything that your team comp can do, everything that theirs can do, and how you're going to be playing with it. There are no real, awful team comps. There are some that are easier to work with. So you need to be aware of what your team can do. I really appreciate how everyone gets out early. This is something that is often a pet peeve of mine whenever people are AFK for the start of the game. And just leaving after that's fine. Yeah. A weakness? Mm-hmm. Okay. Because your Shen wants to split push, right? Your Shen wants to split push, and the Shen is going to be up here split pushing regardless and can ult to a fight. Their team, the Twitch, doesn't want to start a fight where he's just in a lane. He doesn't want to be the one you are engaging on. But if you're sieging on the lane with just the Twitch, no wave clear from the Xerath, you have a lot of potential to pick the Twitch early. If the Twitch also gets behind, the Twitch is going to want to split push, which is going to give you the potential to take top turret. So it gives you the openings to two parts of the map that you really want open, because you're not going to be able to do anything to the Xerath until you get a fight that you can just straight up dive him. And a fight that you can straight up dive him means you're going to have control in these areas, their jungle. Otherwise, it's really, really risky. So that's why I suggest trying to get control of this side of the map. Plus, you're playing towards where your strengths are. Ezreal has a very strong early game, and Zyra is a poke champion. So ideally, this lane is favoring your bot lane already. And if their team is playing towards, trying to gank the lane that's pushing and the lane that's harassing a lot, they're going to be playing towards bot. So it's going to give you the potential to catch the Twitch and catch the Jhin, and it's all happening by camping bottom, essentially. And I don't mean sit bottom the entire game. I mean gank it like twice. That's all you really should need to do to get this turret. Twice. 2 successful ganks. So the rest of the time, you're still clearing normally. It's just you want to always try and end up bottom. And look for that. There's no real reason for you to recall here. Starting topside, I don't know how intentional this was to be playing towards bottom, but this is a great way to both avoid potentially a Twitch invade and also help your bot lane early. Something that I do whenever I play Twitch jungle, which is extremely troll in my opinion, but works really well when it works, is gank mid level 2. That's something that I would be warning your mid laner about, but wouldn't actually try and counter gank it. Yeah. So your clear is suboptimal. If you're trying to hit level 3 and you're clear like this, you skip the easier camps for Warwick to clear. Warwick doesn't really want to clear this thing because there's a lot of different targets and that'll reset your passive, and he doesn't really want to clear Raptors until he gets like Hydra or something, or has your Roar, but they're still going to have a little bit more time to clear it. Your optimal level 2 would be from the Gromp or from the Wolves, and because of this little delay, you might be just really worried about the Twitch invade. But if that's the case, the Twitch shouldn't be trying to catch you on red because... Actually, maybe he would be trying to catch you on red since the bot lane showed early. Okay, yeah, that's fine. This is fine. If bot lane fake leashed, it would have been fine to clear normally, but I understand why you did this. What the hell is he doing? Okay. So one thing that I'm noticing is this type of invade that you did here, you're very much so ignoring your team. Whenever you do an invade like this, you need to make sure your team is in a position to respond to you first. Your mid laner is not in a position to respond to you at all. See, the Xerath is already coming. And your bot lane, if they responded to you, would have to walk all the way around here because this bot wave is pushing out. The bottom laners can show up immediately. So whenever you take this fight, you are completely ignorant to what's happening the rest of the map. Right here, Xerath is coming. Right here, Jhin is coming. If you smite this, that's a great steal, but then you need to run the fuck away immediately because you're going to die. Trying to chase for the Twitch is really, really risky, and this is why. You're not paying attention to who can come first. This is an unnecessary invade to begin with. If the Twitch wasn't stealing your shit, then that's great, but you picked a really bad time. These are things that you definitely need to pay more attention to. Yeah, see? Yeah, that's a very important part. Counter jungling is at least a minimum of a two-person effort because someone has to be able to respond to help you at all times that you're invading. Otherwise, you are literally... Who's going to respond first to this side of the map? Who's going to respond first over here? They have a faster response time just because of their proximity. They're closer. They're going to be there first. So either need to make sure that you're going to get the kill instantly. So if you're playing a champion that can burst, or you have vision that you know that they're really low, It's fine to like just drop a ward. Like this invade initially, if you just were doing this to drop a ward or something like that, that would have been fine. But the overstay, that extra like 3 seconds walking not only closer to their team, but like further away essentially from your team, because your team had to walk around like this, remember? You guaranteed that you were at least going to have to blow flash. So that's what you really need to be a lot more concerned about, watching your waves. He has no mana. This should be free. It was good awareness for you to look up here. But if you had your flash, it would have been a lot more secure. It's fine to leave after that. You know that the Twitch... Okay, so a little bit into jungle tracking. Since you seem to be a little bit aware of it, maybe, because you are looking in here for an invade, if you're tracking the Twitch, the next place the Twitch is going to show up is obviously topside. You just took his Gromp down here. His blue buff probably he took next. So where is he going to go? He's going to either go to gank top lane or he's going to go to gank mid lane because he's going to clear this shit and then look for his gank. So if you're playing to that, you need to be thinking about what you can potentially protect with maybe a ward. Because Twitch, if you ward his camp up here, you just denied him a lot. Because you, for starters, can invade him again, safer this time, because you know you'll either be able to burst him, or your team would be able to follow up knowing they'll get a kill too, or you could have denied his gank. The best way to play against junglers like Twitch and Evelynn and other shit that's got stealth, Shaco even, is to ward their camps. And you have one ward, so since you know he's going to be playing to this side of the map, you can be looking to put at least a ward down over here. Twitch is probably going to clear both of these and then look for mid. That's what I would be doing if I was the Twitch. Yeah, that's fine. Scuttle doesn't really help protect against the Twitch, but it's, you know, it's a safe camp for you to take. It's still a good thing. Okay, so from these wave positionings, see, look at this. Look what I told you. And it looks like he didn't do his Raptors because he came like immediately to this. He might have done his Raptors, but you know that he was going to gank this. I told you he was either going to gank this or he was going to gank top. And if he was going to gank top, then it's got a big wave. I think that he would have had to have waited a little bit longer, but ganking mid's what I said was going to happen. You need to predict what the jungler is going to do, and if you were here, 100% you could turn this. Twitch is a champion that relies entirely on the stealth aspect. If you get on his face, which you'd be able to if you were here, he has no flash, he'd die. Anivia has egg too, so if you were here, you'd secure the Anivia's life. She doesn't have egg? No, she does. Rebirth. See? Now if I was a Twitch, I would be looking to gank this bot lane. You don't have mana right now though, so I wouldn't be looking to counter gank. You were saying in the Discord earlier, one thing that you were good at was responding to everything the enemy jungler did. Well, you respond to it. Yes, you do come mid lane, but you come mid lane after it's already happened. So you're not predicting where the enemy jungler is going to be. You had a little bit of prediction over here, but you greeted. But your prediction for the mid lane was either not existent or you didn't care, which means you weren't responding. You need to put a little bit more attention while you're at any role into where the jungler is going to be. Okay, so one thing that I'm noticing is you decide to waste a very large amount of time. Your clear ends you up on the bot side of the map, right? Okay, no, okay, you do just recall. Never mind. I thought you walked up there. But you still are, this is a very suboptimal choice right now because you have no camps up. I would have been looking to, for starters, since you have this vision. 1 second. What's up? You want dinner like 6 o'clock? Sure. Pizza? Sure. Yeah, that sounds great. Sorry, I had to respond to something. But you really needed to make sure you had vision control over here, because as I said, the Twitch wanted to do, Twitch wanted to gank bottom next, and sure enough, that he did come bottom, and your response is to go top lane. Do you notice how you do this? And you know where the Twitch is? And then you just spend a lot of time up here. You're going to counter jungle. You see the Xerath going up, and you ignore him. This is, again, a really, 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 really risky invade. You know the Xerath was up here. You just saw the Twitch over here. You know the Pantheon has ult. And you stay for this. Okay, Anivia picked the Twitch, but does she die for it? No, I guess she gets out. That was really risky. You do have very good deep vision in here right now. I don't know if these are your wards, but this is a perfect one to catch out the camp. This one's kind of unnecessary after you took the red buff, but probably was to secure it, so this is fine. Something else that you can do to ward against the Twitch depends his gank pattern, but if you were to ward the lane like here, you'd probably catch out Twitch too if he's going through lane. This one's a lot more situational. I would not do this very often. It depends how he ganks, and he's been ignoring top lane. But yeah, your invades need a lot of work. This is a really big risk. This was a really big risk. One time it paid off because your mid laner picked the Twitch, but the Twitch could have easily just walked up this way. And if he walked up this way, you would have died. 100%. Well, think about what I was just saying whenever you did this invade. Remember how I said that Pantheon was 6? You were over here, Twitch, if for some reason, turned back onto them. But if the Twitch was here, auto-attacking you, you went for the plant, you went over the plant, Pantheon ults. You're dead. And it's just an unnecessary risk. Every time you take an unnecessary risk like this, you can put your team behind just as well as you can put your team ahead. And it's just chance. If you're relying on your team getting this pick to protect you, then what if they don't? Your Anivia didn't have flash and didn't have egg, so she could have just as easily died if it was a different jungler. And over here, you obviously just don't respect it, your team coming or anything, so you're not concerned about your team, and you're not concerned about your team winning this either. You just want to win the jungle matchup. Which, yes, you killed the red buff and you got the red buff, which is good. It denies a lot of gank pressure. But how easy would it have been for this Anivia to die? Going mid here I really like. You did save the Anivia's life, probably. Because Xerath did just hit 6 and probably could have ulted. My preference is jungler, you should definitely give your mid laner blue buff. If it's something like an Anivia, it'll help a shit ton. It would have been very easy for you to go to this red buff afterwards, clear up to the blue, and give your blue off to your mid laner. It helps that matchup considerably. And she can then just put her ult down without flash and stand far back and let it clear. So now she's going to have to watch her resources a lot more. And I guess you're just worried about how much mana you use in the jungle, but do you have your jungle item? You should upgrade your jungle item to get better mana sustain. Now, this is kind of the amount of attention I expected your team to have on bot lane. And if you're the enemy team, you kind of want to do the same thing that I was saying. Because if you get the bot lane ahead, the Xerath is going to be able to wave clear regardless, and the Pantheon is going to be able to get kills down here with his ult. Shen is going to split push regardless. So where can you create a very large lead? It's bot lane. It also denies you one of your win conditions. So it's very wise for them to be playing to bot side, and so far you've played to top and played to mid a bit, but mostly played to their jungle. Um, your playing to the jungle wasn't really your win condition. Not like the way you've been doing because you've been taking a lot of risks to do it. Uh, yeah. This is really risky. You know that they still have probably at least two people down here. Janna, if the Jhin stayed, the Janna should have stayed too. And the Twitch, you don't know where he was, but they just took Dragon, so he's probably here. This is your third risk. And your team should not be able to respond to this. See, okay. You need to work on your counting game. One of the most important things as an engaged champion is to work on your counting. There's two ways you count, and you have to count both ways every time you choose to go in. The maximum amount of people that can be there for the enemy team. And then you count the minimum amount of people that can be there for your team. Because right now, you're not ahead. You can't just win the 1v1. You know, even if this was a 1v1, yes, you could win this. But if counting it, it's not a 1v1. So whenever you go in, you better be prepared and know you can win a 3v1. What's the minimum amount of people that could be there for your team? Probably 2, but whenever this started, it was 1. Do you see whenever you choose to go in? This is 1 versus 3. But the enemy jungler tracking, the support tracking, as I said over here, you might have been tracking him, but the rest of this game, you obviously do not track the enemy jungler. So that is something you need to work on, and I have other reviews where I talk a lot more about the clock, but Twitch is a little bit of an anomaly, so you have to be watching based off of pressure. The biggest way to watch based off of pressure is, for starters, waves, looking at the waves, and then looking at champions and looking at resources, health and mana. You say you watch health and mana whenever you gank, but you don't watch health and mana to counter gank. That shows you where you can counter gank. And if you rely on counter ganking, like what you said, then you're missing out on 50% of the reason you should be ganking. And you always show up late too. Over here, this is late. This is late. You decide to show up after they have already finished the gangbang of 5 people bottom, and you're trying to clean up. Warwick really isn't a cleanup champion. Master Yi kind of is, but Warwick isn't. Warwick is meant to engage and set up plays like this. But you can't because your team isn't here because you're coming late. So you got to work on your enemy jungler tracking. You got to work on your that mostly with pressure in this case, but I talk about the clock in other videos. And you need to work on your counting. Counting is super important. After that, you need to work so far on your greed, and you need to work on your win conditions. Playing towards topside wasn't really going to change too much because Shen is going to do the same thing either way. He's going to split push against the Pantheon and will eventually outscale. It's just the way this matchup goes. Mid lane, you can impact quite considerably early, but Xerath is still going to be able to wave clear mid game. To punish the Twitch, make him sit in a lane. To make him sit in a lane, win bottom. So this is also a really good ward. This is going to catch out the Twitch. It's going to potentially give you invades. This is something you could be trying to do as well. I know you weren't really in a position to do this, but these are the type of wards that you need down in order to play against the Twitch. Warding his camps. Your Zyra did it, but it's a great example. You also did it for the Raptors. All of your wards this game need to be defensive wards like this, because traditional defensive wards against a jungler like Twitch are not going to do anything. Yura was complimenting her Roman. Ah! Oh, the pain. So, you have vision over here. You know that the Twitch isn't here, but you do catch the Twitch on this ward, and you do see a lot happening middle earlier than this, and you still choose to take top side. So right here at this second, do you know what your decision is? You go up for this camp, and completely give up your team on the most obvious gank. This is proving you are not counter ganking at all. That you're not counter ganking at all. Are you counting here? Because the Xerath just got a kill, probably is gone, but who's going to show up first? You know, this is another one of your fights that you're just thinking you're getting a pick, but you're not counting. Now, your team wastes your impact on bot lane. All of your impact on bot lane is now gone because the TP and the Shen ult. So now your bot lane is potentially going to be put more behind. You get kills here, but your kills are sacrificing resources. Keep that in mind. I do like the Herald pickup, if you can get it. You smite a little early, that's risky. So you don't have ult because you use your ult on the Twitch, but this is a really risky decision. So whenever you get kills, you do need to look for an objective. I totally agree with that, except there's other ways you can get objectives. Herald is worth probably half a turret. And if you wanted to use this time to pressure top turret, if you'd helped wave clear this, you probably would have gotten 60% of top turret. You could have faked leave, you faked your leave, sat around here and ganked top lane and finished this off, and then take the top laner down here and done Herald. Your decision to do Herald whenever the Xerath was poking you guys was really risky, and that you also smited early. This is like probably your 5th unnecessary risk this game. And these add up. The Anivia dying here also without teleport means she's going to be put behind a level. And that resource she used to come and save your ass, put her behind then. And if your idea is she didn't have to die here because, I was just taking Herald, she could have walked away. She's the reason you were able to take Herald. And then you die because, well, mostly because of the risk. And then she dies. She should die. No, she doesn't die? Okay. I thought the Twitch was there. Oh, the Twitch is there. He just misplayed it. Okay. This actually wasn't a bad idea. This was a very safe risk. Do you know why this was a very safe risk? I'll show you. So, first, you're going to make assumptions when playing. Your assumption 1 was Jen was down here. Now, if you're watching up this, do you see what Janna does? She disappears this way. That means she's probably going actually bot lane. Otherwise, she would have stuck with her carries. So that means that you're looking at, when counting, probably a 2v2. The Anivia should be able to show up, and you're there. But then what makes this completely secure is what the Shen does. The Shen now secures your 1v1 or 2v2. Do you know how you know this was going to happen? Wave management. This is going to push to them. Probably. I don't know. Maybe it won't. Wave management here with the Anivia, the numbers, and then your assumptions that their bot lane is going to be down here. If you're watching the map, you are counting and you know how many people can show up. you have the numbers advantage over here because it should be a 4 versus 3. It's just split. And the split over here is just a 1v1, and the split over here against this guy with like no health is a very free pick. So this is a very safe risk because of this if you were watching bot lane and watching the top what the Janna did. Your Shen then secures it. After that, I would be looking, instead of taking this camp, to go top lane, get this kill, and get this turret. Because their wave clear is gone for now, yes, but this is a very free kill with what the Shen has been doing, and you would have a speed up to go there, and you would have probably a turret. I don't know if Anivia is going to be able to push to this turret and do too much damage to this turret. Maybe if you had stuck on it with the Zyra too. Okay. You have a very big focus on the enemy jungle. That's also problematic in a sense of, let's talk about the ultimate win condition. The way you win a game, straight up, is taking this. And every decision you make needs to be contributing to taking this. The only thing you officially need to take this is a row of towers and the Nexus. So far, you haven't taken a single tower, and it's 13 minutes into the game. And realistically, you should have probably taken the first tower by 10 minutes. Especially with all of these risks that you're taking, you could eliminate these risks and play two objectives and get more money for your team and increase your odds of winning those risky plays, but also increase your chances of winning. If you go and you steal this camp, you are denying a little bit of experience, which as a jungler, it's actually really easy to get back in the game with their experience changes like a year ago. So you're not permanently denying them like you used to be. He is behind in levels, yes, but it's not going to be a permanent thing. He's going to scale back up. So you're officially getting yourself, at this point, since he's already 6, 80 gold, about 80 gold. And denying 80 gold. So equivalent of 160. You know what's a lot more than 160? Yeah, this is a lot more than 160 a tower. Try and play more to towers because your decisions so far this game show that you don't care at all about towers, you don't care at all about what your team is doing, and you only care about playing into the enemy jungle. This is actually a pretty good Herald placement. A lot of the time people don't know how to use it. I really respect this. I would have waited until the Herald took the tower to actually go in on the Pantheon, but it's not really a bad thing, I guess. Maybe it is. It is. Oh my god. No. But you could have just zoned with that. If you had put the Herald down, you probably could have just zoned with it. I thought that it was a good Herald placement, but I guess it ended up being a pretty bad one. And if you're looking at the value of something like Herald, right? I said it was half of a turret. This is half of a turret. So that's kind of proving how worth or not worth Herald is, right? Herald, in my opinion, is worth more than Dragon, but it's worth less than a turret. If you're putting enough focus on a Herald to let your Anivia die, then try and focus more on turrets. Because you could typically play around the enemy team, rotate, and make sure you have a numbers advantage, force them off, and get these for free. You see this, though? What happened down here? Remember how I was telling you the resource thing? Shen was able to get them a double kill, and that was in a situation where they could have potentially gotten even a triple kill if the Xerath died. This is an example of the resource that was used on you to secure a Herald and trade 1-for-1. Because the Twitch died and then the Anivia died. So, a lot of resources that could have potentially gotten this and gotten this tower at any point in early game before 10 minutes. Okay, this is just a weird mechanical thing. Alright, I really appreciate that you let the Anivia get that. With an Anivia on your team and an Ezreal, it'd be really nice for you to also try and focus an Ocean Dragon. Champions that are really mana intensive, like Ezreal and Anivia, they benefit a lot from an Ocean Dragon. Normally, I wouldn't really care about dragons. I have a very bad bias against dragons, but there are situations when I really like them, and this is one of them. Denying it from Xerath also helps a lot because he's just a poking beast. Yeah. Okay, since you're arguing with me, let me give you my opinion and see if I can change your mind. No, 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 it's totally fine. It's totally fine. Because it's an opinion thing more or less. But let me try and change your mind. So the point of dragons as a whole is to give you the potential to take an objective later, right? And we'll start with Earth Dragon because that's the most obvious one. It gives you damage to objectives like Baron and objectives like turrets. So, if you could just take a turret anyways, a turret itself is a guaranteed objective, while a dragon is the potential of an objective. If you can have that 10% damage buff to take Baron, then and that's going to really be a difference, then it's a risky Baron take that isn't worth it. You should be able to take Baron safely at some point in the game if you just watch the map. So the potential of taking Baron is really pretty much irrelevant. And the damage you do to turrets, if you can take one anyways, it's irrelevant because this is only the potential. Herald is half a turret potentially, right? And you saw that demonstrated up here. If you had ganked correctly, killed the Pantheon, this turret would have been dead. Remember how I was saying that you instead were just in their jungle and you could have looked up for the Pantheon? That's a guaranteed objective. If you had a fucking Earth Dragon, you know what would have happened here? It would have been, instead of this, it would have been half of this. It's still up. It's still alive. Okay, Ocean Dragon. Ocean Dragon lets you sit in lane longer with health and mana sustain. Do you know what that does? It lets you survive long enough to fucking attack the turret and take the turret objective. But that is just a potential because a fight could happen at any point in time and a wave could require a response somewhere else. So that is the potential that you outsustain them in lane and take an objective that matters. Okay, Infernal Dragon. Infernal Dragon lets you win fights. Sure, okay. It's not a huge advantage, but it does contribute. But what's the point of a fight? To set up a situation where you can take an objective. And if you could take an objective anyways, without winning a fight, then that's a worthwhile trade. Because, in professional play, there's hardly any deaths, and they rotate all the way around the map, and they get turrets after turrets after turrets, because they know that matters more. And, okay, Air Dragon gets you rotations. Air Dragon is actually my favorite dragon. Air Dragon is the difference between having 3 people able to respawn bottom or 1. It is the difference between you having enough control in their jungle to rotate between the turrets and have a numbers advantage. And the way you create numbers advantage more so is with rotations and with vision control. Dragon contributes slightly to that. In my opinion, a kill is the equivalence of 1 ward. 1 good ward shows you have a numbers advantage. Numbers advantage is the essential thing of someone being dead. A kill is a ward. Now, Infernal Dragon, then, is the same thing as this ward. Because you won that fight, you created your numbers advantage, and now you can take an objective. Dragon, all dragons are the potential to take something later. So if you ever get the chance to take something, that is more worthwhile than dragons. Alright, I hope I change your mind. If not, that's fine, but that's my opinion. And you see again, you say that you're reacting to your team. You're just over here taking a red buff when this was happening. That was so easy for you to turn. You had ult. You completely ignore your team. And you also ignore, you don't track the enemy jungler. And apparently you don't track the Pantheon because whenever they had a 2v2 middle, you just were like, I'm going to get my red buff. So you really got to work on what you do with knowing when to invade, what you do with your objective control, mostly talking about turrets, because you could have stayed for this. You not need to work on your win conditions. You're playing to a side of the map that's going to have the same role, regardless of being fed or not, and you need to be more careful with your counting. That's already like 6 things. I'm not sure if I counted accurately there. I'm kind of pulling a number out my ass. Okay, this is actually a safe invade. This is a safe invade. You saw the Twitch top lane. You saw that the Pantheon was mid, but you just killed their bot lane. So you would be able to probably get a 1v1 over here. This is a safe invade. And I want to try and stress the difference between a risky one and a safe one because you've been doing only risky invades pretty much so far. If you're doing this, though, I would be trying to make sure you have a ward somewhere deep to see the Xerath. So if you ward just over this wall, it's still better than nothing. But someone is probably going to respond to you. Minimum of Pantheon. You could probably 1v1 with a Pantheon, but not a 2v1. Because counting, right? You need to secure that that would only be a 1v1. And there you see 2. Now it's no longer a 1v1. You need to be, okay, you're kiting it out. This is good. Walk to the turret. Take the turret with your team. It'll be a 3v2. You stay for the objective. That doesn't matter. There's no reason to stay for that. You saw the 2 people. Count. Count, count, count. Alright. Invading is definitely a problem of yours. I would say invading is probably your biggest problem. Because this is all... Every play has like a 3-minute setup phase. Them both dying is in response to your invade. Because if you had walked to this turret, you would have taken this turret. Instead, you chose to walk to blue buff. And die here. And then you let your bot lane die. It's all response to that one play. And the Anivia dying twice is just a prediction issue. That's not really an invade issue. But you really do need to be paying more attention to your tracking. So, okay, this is an okay play, but what you should do after this, remember how I'm talking about a 3-minute setup phase? Well, 3 minutes from now, Baron's up. It's an excellent idea for you to be up here right now because you're going to get this wave to bounce here and then bounce back, and it's going to be something allowing you to clear up again by 20 minutes, which is where you kind of want to be. But if you're doing this, you need to start setting up whenever you're here now so you have the setup for later. I would have, if you were going top lane, yes, you got a pink ward. That's exactly what I was going to reference. Get a pink ward and put it down somewhere to control Baron. Now, you can control Baron by putting it in this brush, the brush in the middle of the lane. You could be putting it on the pit itself, or you could be putting it in this try and waiting for them to rotate up whenever you push next, because they're probably going to come through lane initially, and then you'll be able to get a gank off and then rotate where you have numbers to try and secure Baron, or at least get more control in this area. This is a really smart push with wave management. I don't know if it was your intent, but this was a very good spot for you to be right now. I wouldn't stay too much longer after that. Yeah, leave right away. That was excellent. You did sacrifice Ocean Dragon, but as I said, I don't really care about dragons. Ocean Dragon would be slightly more beneficial for your team than the normal dragons because of Anivia and also a Xerath, but it's still not really worth dying for. Okay, counting here. It's a 4v4, but look where your Anivia is. Your Anivia has to make up her mind which way she's going to go, and she's at least going to be 3 seconds late to this fight. If you have ever looked at a death recap, you know that 3 seconds is a lot of time. You also know they have all of their disengage still available because they haven't used any of their important cooldowns, so this is not a fight I would be looking for. Do you know why this is an unnecessary fight? And this isn't a bad thing. This is a very good position for you to be because bot wave could potentially get turret. Since the Twitch is up here, you know what? It's going to take him a very long time to bounce this wave all the way back. After he takes this wave, he's probably going to stay for one more and then rotate mid and look for the fight mid. But if the Ezreal stays on this wave longer and gets on this turret, the Ezreal gets an objective just for you guys not fighting. And then after he gets this, he requires a response down here. So remember that timer of 20 minutes? Baron's up. So this guy is going to have to go down here, respond to this wave. You guys all group top lane, and you get Baron. Trying to look for this fight now, you're not thinking about what objectives you can get later, because this is a free objective. This is your Herald that you dropped earlier and died for. You sacrificed the Nivea for that, and then you sacrificed yourself and Shen for less than this. And now you're looking for a fight when you've guaranteed that for free. Don't look for a fight here. It's totally unnecessary. And you back off. Okay, I just saw you use your speed up. I would have pinged Ezreal to stay on that, because the Twitch has at least like a 5 seconds more until he's here. 5 seconds more would have been on this turret and would have been demanding a response bot lane. You going down here is a very bad idea, because now Baron's going to be up by the time you push this to turret, attack this turret, which means that they're going to have control on this side of the map. If they choose to respond to you, then having you dead is even worse, because now Baron's up and they can do it. Denying a resource for later. Now Shen can't split push efficiently. And he dies too. Does he die as well? A choice where you shouldn't have been here. If you thought it was a good idea to stay in this wave, then just tell your Ezreal to stay in this wave, right? Ping, you communicate. My logic is, if you feel you are better than the people you are playing with, which is the reason you feel you believe you need to climb, right? Because you are better than the people you're playing with, then shot call, make decisions, ping, communicate with your team. Because obviously, in that mindset, you're better than the people you're playing with, so help them win. Now, be very careful with the way you communicate, because there's a right way and a wrong way. Never flame, never ask why. Just tell them, Ezreal, get the turret. We won't fight. That's like 2 times that you click enter, and neither of those things are flame. And you get your objective that you felt was worth dying for. You sacrificed yourself and your Shen twice for less than this. Remember what I was talking about, how their team was going to be playing towards the flanks, and they were going to have a lot of engage on you if you guys were to just sit in a lane? This is an example of the siege that I was saying that's very risky, and I think that you're playing into their hands completely. That's fine. You also are not tracking them very well, just by the sign of how you're using your red trinket. The furthest the Twitch is extended was up here. The Pantheon was mid and bot lane. The Janna was bot lane. Then no one's fucking been over here towards your blue. There's no reason to red trinket this. Now you don't have it to control Baron. You use it to secure blue buff. Blue buff is 80 gold. This is like fucking 300 per person. You're not tracking, because they would never be in here. And this is counting again. Minimum, maximum. There's not much you could have done about this. You, as I said, needed vision control here starting at 20 minutes. And if you had your vision whenever I said, it actually would have expired at this point, and the Janna would have cleared it out anyways. So there's not a whole lot you could have done to prevent this. But part of this is them responding to where you were. I don't know how much of that is. There's not a whole lot you could have done here. But you completely do ignore them. You're just clearing your camps. Now no one's on this wave. Oh, and by the way, you kept blue buff this time, so the praise I had earlier, I kind of take that back. There's no reason for the Shen to do that. Yeah, that was... I don't know what you're doing here. There was no reason for you to walk specifically. Just stay in the lane. You don't have vision of what just happened over here, but you know they just took your red buff, and there were multiple people hitting it, and you walk really aggressively to where, counting, how many people could show up here? At least one. Maybe another one because you lost sight of him. Oh, and there's 3. Oh, and Xerath has ult, and he's around here. 4. And you walk like this. There's the Xerath ult I was talking about. There's the Twitch I was talking about. Yeah. Yeah, okay, maybe counting is your bigger problem. More than invading. They're both huge. They should get an inhib off of that. Oh, no, the Xerath rotated mid. Never mind. It would have been very risky to stay for the inhib, actually, so it might have been the better play to leave. This is definite no. As soon as Baron is up, you can never play to the bottom side of the map as a jungler. You need to make sure you are always present for this, and if you feel the need to do this, do you know who's really good at split pushing and should be split pushing? Yeah, you should fucking know Shen. You have a split pusher. Why are you down here? He has TP. You don't. If you focus on this turret this much, then get Baron first. Let your Shen split down there. And then you don't even stay for the turret? What is this? You go to enjoy. Oh my god, you're invading again. No. No, 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 no. Do you see what happens when you do this? You have so much focus on the enemy jungle, and you split push on the bottom side of the map, and you don't track the enemy jungle, and you don't count on whenever you invade. You don't check waves to see who can respond first. You don't have any vision in here. Even though you... Okay, actually, you didn't have a trinket. You have your sweeper, which you use to sweep blue buff, which is... Yeah, you see? They're pinging Baron. You took this, and now you know what? They got either Baron or Inhib, whichever one they want. Yeah, okay. This game's over at this point. So going back over my list in as non-flamey of a way I can, your invades are very risky, and your counting is bad. Those are your number 1 and number 2 problems. If you fix both of those, you will already see significant gains. Invading, if you want to look back at the times I referenced throughout this to see when it's safe and when it's not, I'm not going to go over it again here. Your objective control of turrets is really bad, but your response to the enemy jungler is always too late. Your tracking is very lacking, and you put no effort into it where you put wards. Your wards that you had over here were just to secure the buff steal, which I think is too much of a focus of yours. Your counter jungling focus is problematic because you sacrifice a lot to do this, and you don't know when to do this. Your gank roots don't play to win conditions, or not gank roots, your ganking lanes, which ones you pick, don't play to a win condition. You just look for, I guess, convenience of where you are, but your clear should not be determined, or rather, your clear should be determined by where you want to gank, not the other way around. You should clear to the lane you want to gank. Your level 1 and 2, like going straight buff to buff, I agree with you. I think that was smart. I take back what I said earlier. With the Twitch in the game, it's always fine to take both of your buffs early. Your vision control as a whole needs some work. I didn't go into that in this very much, but you obviously don't know where to sweep because you were sweeping where no one should have been, and your vision is either kind of not necessarily redundant, but unnecessary immediately after you do something, but it also isn't used for protecting your team or setting up aggressive plays. It's only for the invade that you did here, and that was the only time I ever noticed significant wards. Let's see. You use your team's resources a lot, and it's for very risky plays, and you sacrifice your team a lot. This is both from knowing whenever your team is mid lane and fighting and needs you, to wanting to do red buff while the Anivia and Zyra are 2v2ing over here. You sacrifice your team a lot. And realistically, you are only 1/5 of the way you are going to win this game, because the other 4/5 comes from the other 4 people on your team. So if you're sacrificing them, you're increasing your percentage of winning by negative 20%. And then if you sacrifice 2 people, it's probably negative 40%. You need to be playing with your team because this is a team game. Red buff is 80 gold. You gave them 300 gold at least because they killed one of your team members. I don't remember if they killed both. For red buff, that's not worth it. You sacrifice your team. And let's see. Yeah, you play to the bottom side of the map once Baron is up, and your control of Baron as a whole is very lackluster. Jungle has the best access to warding Baron, so you should be the first one to put a ward on it. Later on, your support's going to have more access to it, but like 20 to 25 minutes, they probably don't. 20 to 25 minutes, that's whenever you should be trying to put your pink ward down over here or your vision ward down over here. And I think that's it. I think that's all the things that I said throughout this. If not, you can just watch the whole thing again. All right. I hope some of that's going to be helpful.